been here open 51 years. I'm 56. My dad opened in 1968 when I was 5 years old. He had got 25 years in. I bought the company from him in 1994. It's one of the most unique businesses because anything that's ever been handmade, like Native American goods that we deal in quite a bit, to tools, to machinery, pottery, you name it, has a chance to walk through your front door. We're basically a bank. That's why we're still open during this coronavirus. We're an essential business. We're also a United States Postal Service contract unit, have been for 16 years. It seems like you have to do 4 or 5 things anymore in business to keep your staff employed and to make a little money at the end of the year. The uniqueness is, I feel, it's like a retail store. We are very, very cognizant of how my store looks and how we want it to look. Another deal is we have a drive-through window.
55, you said?
Yes, sir. Excellent. All right, take care, Willie. It's the only one in the state of Oklahoma. This used to be a Goodyear store. My dad bought it 9 years after we went into business in 1968. Knocked a hole in the wall, put a window in, knocked a big hole in the back, and have an overhead door. We take cars, trucks, boats, construction equipment. People don't have to get out of their car to pay interest. We've sold things out the window. I've had amputees come up. I've sold wedding sets. This is no kidding, to an elderly couple. They're fixing to go get married. And we showed them things through the drive-in window. They even drove the wrong way through the drive-in window because Mom was wanting to check out the wedding rings. But it's such a unique deal. And we're also a United States Postal Contract Unit, have been for almost 16 years. So they come in and buy stamps, they mail stuff, they drop off stuff that's done click and ship online. So it's a very, very unique part of my business. We're an essential business because we're a banking institution, plus we're a U.S. Postal Service. So we needed to stay open, and I'm blessed with a great staff that have wanted to stick it out with me, stay here, put themselves at risk, but we really value our customers. We needed to be open for our customers because we really thought that there would be a big onslaught of loans coming in because people aren't working, they've been laid off, they're furloughed. But it's kind of weird, in the last 5 weeks when this pandemic kind of started, people are not pawning anything. It is so far down, the numbers of people, which one thing, they're doing their social distancing, they're staying at home, like the Governor Stitt, and the rest of the world, and the country. But this doesn't kind of surprise me much because this has been happening for the last 3 or 4 years, and this has been statewide. I've done a lot of talking with a lot of pawnbrokers around. Used to be the president of the Oklahoma Pawnbrokers Association, was the treasurer for 8 years. A lot of good friends of mine are still on the board. I'm no longer. But we have seen a decline in people coming in and needing our service. And I've read articles in magazines, National Pawnbrokers magazines, basically stating kind of the same thing over the last 2 or 3 years, that people don't own anything anymore. They've sold all their gold. When gold has been so high for so long, they've taken every scrap chain, everything out of there because they could get so much more out of it than selling it to an individual, pawning it. They get top, 97, 98% of their gold value, and they get cash right then. The millennials, and I say millennials, I don't even know, there's a 20-year period there, I guess. They don't want to own a car. They don't want to own a house. They don't want gold jewelry. They want a $1,000 phone, but they don't want gold wedding ring. They don't want diamonds. They don't want chains. They want to experience things. Well, you can't bring an experience into my pawn shop and borrow money on it. I wish I could live my life like that, just going around and not owning anything or having any responsibility and experience life, but that isn't how it works. That's how it all starts in a pawn shop. Just like a bank. If they don't loan money, they don't earn interest, they don't keep a customer, and they don't make any money. And you can't make somebody get a loan. You can't go out and get it. You can advertise, you can do whatever you want, but that's mostly for people to come to your store to see if they want to buy something. And I'm real scared about the process of not loaning more money. Because if that stops, then the whole ball game. You don't earn interest. If you happen to end up with it, then you've got merchandise on your floor. Well, when the state starts to open up, their jobs may not be there. Their companies may be gone. They may be bankrupt. So then they don't have a job. If they can get help from the government, that's only going to be a little Band-Aid. It's going to be a really, really tough struggle for a lot of these people. At the beginning, we didn't see as many people as we usually do, you know. But everybody's been able to pay their interest. They either call it in, we take credit cards, even though it costs me money to do that. It's a convenience for our customers. We're not seeing the amount of people out, but we're working with them. If they have an issue, we're extending their loans, keeping it, you know, like I said, we're very customer oriented here. Like I said, we've been in business for 51 years. We've been doing something right, somewhere. It's what we have seen is that they're tired of being cooped up. They're tired about not being able to do what they want to do. And that being more in the last couple of weeks. Some of them wear masks. Some of them don't. They're really upset that the casinos aren't open, and that's been amazing. But they're saving money, and they're paying their interest. They're not losing their stuff. So they're not blowing it at the casinos. They're not being able to spend money at all. We got a rash the last couple of weeks. We got a rash of everybody wanting to get calls, PS4s, Nintendo Switches. Well, you're at home. I finally asked a guy on the phone, a young kid, and I said, well, what's the deal with the PS4s? He goes, well, I just got my stimulus money. And he said, I can't find one. So that stemmed, we were getting 10 phone calls a week. I've had a guy walk in, and my dad was the same way. You always want to try one of everything. And a guy walked in one day, and he said, do you take an artificial leg? And my dad had one. It was an old, it was the full hip leg. And I don't know where he got it, but it was back before I came back to work for him when I was about 22 years old. And then eventually bought it in 94. And I was like, yeah? So he turned around and walked out. Brought his buddy in. It was his buddy's lower leg. It had a shoe on it, a sock on it, a razor, a little big razor in the sock, and he took it off, and I pawned it for $25. And I was like, that's the wildest thing I've ever seen. In hindsight, he probably went back to the VA and got one for free. But have your buddy come in to put, now that's a buddy.